Hello and welcome to Granada Reports, live with the latest across the northwest.
Hello, thanks for joining us. Coming up on the programme this evening.
A court hears she killed a baby girl after 4 attempts and then sent her parents a sympathy card. We'll have the latest from the trial of nurse Lucy Letby. She denies murdering and trying to murder babies at the Countess of Chester Hospital.
Putting the no in November the 5th. The council's cancelling Bonfire night.
Mental health problem. Is racism the reason people like Yvonne are more likely to be sectioned or treated with drugs? Experts at One Northwest University say yes.
Yes, welcome to the inner sanctum here for Manchester City women. This is the dressing room with all the shirts you can see already hung up.
How some of the top talent in women's football turned into tour guides for some of their youngest fans.
And the leaves are beginning to fall all across the northwest, and with blustery winds over the next few days, more to come. The forecast is coming up.
Well, first tonight, a court has heard a hospital nurse working at the Countess of Chester Hospital sent a baby's parents a sympathy card after killing her at the 4th attempt.
The little girl was one of 7 babies Lucy Letby is alleged to have killed over the course of a year when she was working in the hospital's neonatal unit.
The prosecution say a consultant paediatrician who had concerns about the nurse walked in as she was trying to kill another baby girl. None of the babies or their parents can be identified in this trial at Manchester Crown Court.
Lucy Letby denies all the charges against her. Our correspondent Elaine Wilcox has been following this case for us. Elaine, we have been hearing more of the prosecution's case today.
Yes, the prosecution claim Lucy Letby made 4 persistent and cold-blooded attempts to murder a baby girl who was just over 2 pounds when she was born. Now, although she was small, she was resilient, and she had survived 3 attempts by the nurse to kill her. The court was told when Lucy Letby was off shift, the baby girl made good progress and had 5 good days, but when she came back on shift, she suffered a fatal attack in Lucy Letby's care. Now, after she died, her mother was asked if she wanted to bathe her baby, and as she was doing that, the prosecution say Lucy Letby came into the room and, in the words of Child Eye's mother, was smiling and kept going on about how she was present at the baby's first bath and how much she had enjoyed it. Now, when Lucy Letby's home was searched, inside an image was found on a mobile phone of a sympathy card that she'd sent the parents of that baby, and there was also evidence that she tracked those parents on social media, as we've heard on other cases in this trial.
And Elaine, the trial's heard about the first time a doctor became suspicious of Lucy Letby.
Yes, that's right. The prosecution claim a consultant paediatrician who was working in the neonatal unit had walked in as Lucy Letby was trying to kill another baby girl. Now, Dr. Ravi Jayaram is also known as a TV doctor, and he had noticed a coincidence between the number of babies dying and when Lucy Letby was there. He said he'd gone in to check on a baby, child K, and he said her oxygen levels were dropping dangerously. And the court was told that Lucy Letby was standing over her incubator and she was making no attempt to help the baby. An alarm which should have sounded appeared to have been turned off, and the baby's breathing tube had been dislodged. Now, despite his concerns, the consultant hadn't made a note of his suspicions or the failed alarm. Now, the prosecution say Lucy Letby went on to try and kill twins and then to murder 2 brothers who were triplets by sabotaging their care. Now, Lucy Letby is sitting in the dock just feet away. Some of the parents of the babies are there listening to the distressing details. Lucy Letby denies 20 counts. There's 22 counts. This trial continues.
Elaine, it's Manchester Crown Court. Thank you.
The mother of James Bulger has written to the Prime Minister begging her to block the possible release of one of her little boy's murderers.
James was abducted from a shopping centre in Bootle on Merseyside and killed by 2 10-year-old boys in 1993. One, John Venables, is back in prison for a third time and due for a parole hearing.
Well, our correspondent Anne O'Connor joins us in the studio tonight. Anne, tell us what has happened since James's killers were freed from prison.
Well, Lucy, John Venables and Robert Thompson were released on licence in 2001 with new identities after serving 8 years for killing James Bulger. Venables, who's now 40, has been sent back to jail twice in 2010 and 2017, both times for offences related to images of child sexual abuse. It's thought he's due a parole hearing imminently, but we don't know the exact date. It hasn't been publicly confirmed. Denise Fergus, James' mother, has written to the Prime Minister asking her to, as she puts it, step in immediately to make sure my son's killer stays firmly behind bars where he belongs. We're calling on them, the government, to please intervene now. Now, she says that Venables still poses a risk to families like hers. She says she has a series of questions for Liz Truss and she doesn't want to be fobbed off.
And Denise did think that she had got somewhere with the government over this.
She did. She met with the previous Justice Secretary, Dominic Raab, in June this year, and he outlined what he called a Bill of Rights, which would change the rules on parole and make it easier for ministers to stop serious offenders being released. Now, it was criticised as overriding human rights laws, and of course in September Dominic Raab was sacked by the new Prime Minister, Liz Truss. So that Bill of Rights is now on the shelf. It was controversial, as I said. And now Denise Fergus has managed to secure a meeting with the new Justice Secretary, Brandon Lewis. We don't know exactly when that date would be. Venables has been denied parole in 2020, but it has to be said, with the fallout from the mini-budget gripping Westminster, it's not clear how much progress Mrs Fergus can make before that parole hearing.
Becomes so complicated now. Anne, thank you. We'll be watching developments there. Thank you.
Well, next, and as Bonfire Night approaches, many people will be disappointed to hear that some planned events have been cancelled this year.
Yeah, more and more councils are abandoning them altogether because of rising prices and the widespread concern about the impact of the cost of living crisis.
Liverpool's announced their spectacular waterfront display won't be happening this year.
Well, Manchester City Council has followed suit. Tim Scott is at the city's Platt Fields Park, which was supposed to be hosting one of these events next month in the rain. So, Tim, what have Manchester City Council had to say about this?
Well, Lucy, it does appear as though this all boils down to costs. They're blaming a combination of factors, but of course it's generally about the money. The council point to what they say is the increased pressure on their budget and the expense of staging public bonfires as the main reasons for scrapping this year's events. Now, there haven't been any public bonfires in Manchester for 2 years because of the pandemic, and for the thousands of people who are hoping to attend those bonfires this year, well, today's news is going to come as a disappointment. We spoke to a council spokesperson earlier and this is what they had to say.
Obviously, Manchester's known for its bonfire and fireworks events. We've not had a display since 2019, but we had to look at everything that surrounded that, which was health and safety, resourcing, the cost, climate change, and what could we do as a council.
And Tim, as we've already said, Liverpool have cancelled their big fireworks event.
Yes, a council spokesperson told me that's because they want to instead concentrate on their River of Light art trail, which takes place over Bonfire Night. But unlike Manchester, across Merseyside and Liverpool this year, public bonfires will still go ahead. Nevertheless, in these tough times for councils, they're all trying to balance the books. It will be interesting to see if anywhere else follows Manchester's lead and cancels their bonfires as well. Gamal, Lucy.
Yeah, let's see what happens. OK, Tim, thank you.
Yeah, fireworks was a hot potato. The subject of Bonfire Night certainly got you talking. Pete says cancel them. It is an expense we can do without. Enough people set them off themselves. So if you want to see fireworks, step outside your own homes and watch them.
This one from John. He says he hates fireworks and that they're unfair to animals. He goes on, but a firework display is a drop in the ocean compared to what Liverpool Council will be squandering on Eurovision. No doubt that will culminate in a firework display at some point.
That's his view, obviously, not ours.
Not ours.
And Ian Robinson says council should run fireworks displays and the public should be banned from buying them. He says it may cost a lot, but how much does it cost to deal with the antisocial behaviour and injuries every year from people with shop-bought fireworks? Please keep your views coming into us. We really appreciate each and every one of them. Thank you.
In other news today, and people volunteering to give blood in the Northwest have been asked to keep to their appointments as the NHS Blood and Transplant Service declared its first ever Amber Alert. Hospitals have been told to make plans to protect their stocks, meaning non-urgent operations could be postponed to ensure blood supplies are prioritised for the most urgent cases. In our region, only the Liverpool Donor Centre has availability. Only people who are O negative and O positive are asked to book appointments.
Peel Ports have written to the bosses of the Unite Union to ask them to call off the latest strike action. They want staff to have what they call a confidential and democratic vote and gauge individual responses to the company's final pay offer of 10.2%. They say if it's accepted, it would increase dock workers' pay to £43,000.
Now, to a new form of therapy for people from African and Caribbean backgrounds diagnosed with schizophrenia or psychosis.
Yeah, figures show black people are 4 times more likely to be sectioned than white people. They're also more likely to be given medication instead of a talking therapy. And while medication treats the symptoms without some sort of talking therapy, those underlying issues remain.
Well, a team at Manchester University have now developed a new treatment called Culturally Adapted Family Intervention, or CAFI, to help try and deal with those health inequalities. It has been so successful, they're hoping to roll it out nationally.
This special report tonight from Anna Yosef.
Getting help for her mental health has been a long and lonely road for Yvonne. She believes being black made it even more difficult. The mum of 2 has paranoid schizophrenia. She's been sectioned several times over the past 20 years, spending long periods in psychiatric care. Her condition was only treated with medication, and until recently she'd never been offered any psychological therapies. Yvonne believes if she had, things might have turned out differently.
Why I'm more likely to be sectioned is because I am black. We're always taken into custody by the police. I've never been offered any sort of psychological intervention. I've never been offered cognitive behaviour therapy. I've never been offered family intervention. I didn't know that I could have assessed like a crisis team that comes in and see you in a house and you don't need to be sectioned, because I would have chosen any of those because I wanted to stay with my children.
Yvonne agreed to share her experiences with researchers from Manchester University, trialling a new talking therapy for African and Caribbean people with experience of psychosis. Why is this project so important?
Because it will help people to understand us, and it will help us also to know that there's something out there for us, mad and bad black people.
Research has shown racism can cause or worsen some mental health conditions. The team behind Culturally Adapted Family Intervention, or CAFI, believe just 10 one-hour sessions of the therapy can change lives.
So it's all about understanding people's lived experience. So, for example, I told a white colleague of mine about being followed in the shops, and she asked me what I meant. And that's the point I'm trying to make, is that I don't know any black person I'd have to explain that to. But if you don't have a frame of reference where every shop you go into people follow you about, then you just chalk that up to paranoia, wouldn't you? You wouldn't see it as people's lived experience.
So what's the difference between CAFI, the therapy that you're offering, and other types of therapy?
So the main difference is the focusing in on the training of the therapist to be able to work cross-culturally. And that means, for example, dealing with the elephant in the room of race and racism and people's lived experience of being racialised and how that affects their mental health.
Nadia took part in the pilot study. She's 38 and was diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia as a teenager.
You hallucinate, I hear voices, I picture things, I think things are going to get me. As the voices are in my head, they tell me what to do, like Sometimes they try to tell me to kill myself and then to go and hurt others.
That sounds like living hell.
Yes. Trust me, it is.
Since having the therapy, Nadia's gone back to college and moved into supported accommodation.
How has the therapy you've had from Kathy helped?
It made me confident when I first came to see him. They made me believe that I can be somebody and I can do something.
This therapist, trained in using Kathy, believes it can really help patients.
One of the most heartwarming pieces of feedback that came out of our pilot was a service user that shared that they felt they were never able to talk about their experiences, and actually they were really afraid that if they spoke that things would get worse, but that they did speak, they found the courage and they got so much better, and they were so relieved by having that space to talk.
By recognising people from different backgrounds need different support, it's hoped the therapy will improve many lives. Anna Yosef, ITV News, Manchester.
And if you'd like to find out more about Kathy and take part in a future study, all the information is on our website.
Here's what's still to come on the ITV News at 6:30 with Mary.
Coming up on the programme, police find human remains in the search for Leah Croucher. 3.5 years after the then 19-year-old disappeared, a tip-off from the public leads officers to the discovery at a house near where Leah was last seen. Also, the Prime Minister promises she will absolutely not cut public spending to pay for her tax cuts. And smarter than you think, how goldfish stay on course with a built-in navigation system. Would you join me for those stories and more at 6:30?
I've got a better sense of direction than I've got. I'm terrible.
I used to have a goldfish many years ago.
Did you?
Loved it. I was about 6.
And it was called?
Potty. I know.
So pleased I asked that. OK,
I'm not pleased I said that, but yeah. Anyway, rest in peace, Potty.
OK, on to sport now. Jurgen Klopp is acknowledging it is a tough situation for Liverpool, Mike.
Yeah, that's right, Lucy. It's fair to say this isn't how Liverpool fans had expected the season to go so far. They are 10th in the Premier League table with just 2 wins from their 8 games. Jurgen Klopp has promised supporters his players will continue to fight to turn things around. Tonight, the Reds are at Ibrox to face Rangers in the Champions League. They beat them 2-0 at Anfield last week. Another win tonight will leave Klopp's side well placed to qualify for the last 16, but it won't end those questions about their overall form.
This is a tough situation, but it's a challenge, and we face always challenges, and we go for it. And I'm sorry for our people that expected after last season that we go again and fly again and compete with everything. Now it's not the case. I cannot promise we will fly, but I can promise we will fight, definitely. And that until somebody tells us the fight is over. That's all what we can promise.
Manchester United supporters are planning another protest against the club's owners after Sir Jim Ratcliffe revealed the Glazers are not interested in selling the club. The British billionaire had expressed his interest in investing in United and has met with the Glazer family, but he says they've told him they won't be selling. The 1958 supporters group is planning a protest march ahead of Sunday's match at home to Newcastle United. Next, and following the latest international break, the Women's Super League resumes this weekend. At Manchester City, they're hoping for a bumper attendance for their first home game of the season against Leicester, with 1 or 2 new faces in the crowd. David Chisnall is at the club's training complex, and he can tell us more.
Yes, welcome to the inner sanctum here for Manchester City women. This is the dressing room with all the shirts you can see already hung up here with the players. And I'm delighted to say we're joined by 2 of the superstars from the team as well. Steph, today you've also been a tour guide as well, haven't you? Yeah. Tell us a bit about what you've been doing.
Added that to my CV as well. So, no, it's been a great opportunity to show some of the children that are part of our City in the Community programme, and for them to come in and experience what we do and how we work and what the stadium's like. And fortunately enough, most of them are City fans as well.
Vicky, how was that? Because you got a grilling as well, a Q&A as well, didn't you? Some questions thrown at you by the kids. What was that like, meeting them?
Oh, no, it was amazing to share with them. I think it's important that they have role models and they know what we do every day. And now they're going to come on Sunday, so we can't wait to see them in the Academy Stadium.
Yeah, let's have a chat with them, because some of them have got tickets for this weekend's game against Leicester as well. Let's have a quick chat with the guys. What was that like, meeting the players and having a personal tour from some of the Manchester City players?
It was fantastic. Honestly, I loved it. I didn't expect them to come. Like, I saw Vicky on the screen when we were talking, and I just loved it.
And then there she was, walking through the door. And for you, how was that, meeting the players and being here at Manchester City?
Good, because I'm a Manchester City fan, and I want City to win all the time.
Oh, are you? How big a Manchester City fan are you? Give us a sense.
I'm really big.
Huge. Are they going to win this weekend against Leicester?
Yeah.
Score?
2-0.
2-0. Oh, that's nice and conservative. I thought it was going to be something like 10-0. Well, let's have a quick chat with you guys about the season. Chance to win your first league game of the season as well. How important is it to get up and running?
Yeah, I mean, obviously disappointed that our first home game against Arsenal was cancelled, but I think for us to be in our stadium, to be in our home ground, we always seem to do well here, so it's a great chance for us to kind of get some points on the board and just start to get some momentum going forward.
And Vicky, have you noticed since coming here, obviously we had the success for the England team in the Euros, have you noticed that there's been a bit more of a buzz and a bit more interest?
The change has been massive, and I think it's so important what the Lionesses have achieved. It was obvious that it was going to make a massive impact, and I can't wait for Sunday. We need the support of the fans, we need the energy, we need to start at home with 3 points and hopefully get on that momentum that we are waiting for.
OK, guys, we wish you well this weekend. Thanks so much for joining us. There we go. Well, the buzz around women's football in this country continues. Manchester City women against Leicester City women this weekend. And they're going to have a few more fans turning up, aren't we?
A day they will never, ever forget. Finally from me to a special honour for the man who rescued Oldham Athletic. Frank Rothwell was the toast of the town in the summer when he bought the club following its relegation from the Football League. He won the Special Recognition Award at the Oldham Business Awards to a standing ovation from the locals.
Isn't that special? In Oldham, isn't it a fantastic feeling when people love you and want to share with you, want a selfie? You know, when old men want a selfie with another old man, that's special. I am a man of the people. It was good to get to the playoffs. Oldham Athletic, we've only got 7,500 supporters at every match. However, a club that has so much support is only going to go one way. It's going up.
Yeah, well done to Frank there. He's very, very popular at Oldham Athletic. Saved the club, a club that's gone through so much in recent years and on the up now, hopefully, under Frank.
A man of the people.
A man of the people.
I liked it when he said that.
Yeah.
Yeah, well done to Oldham Business Awards for recognising his work.
Quite right too.
Cheers, Mike. Thanks for sport tonight. No national anthem tonight, though. I feel there was something missing. Well, next we can, of course, learn a lot from the very young, especially when it comes to looking at things from a different angle.
That's why Ben Andrews, who's visually impaired, is writing a series of children's books to encourage his young readers to think about helping to make our streets safer for everyone to navigate.
Yeah, his first one is called Nicky and Candy Street, and with their help, our correspondent Rob Smith is going to take us on a journey.
Don't you just hate it when things get in the way? Wouldn't it be great if there was more awareness?
Awareness of how tricky it can be to navigate cluttered pavements if you have a disability. Visually impaired author Ben Andrews from Salford wants society to appreciate that, so he's starting with children. His first book, Nicky and Candy Street, follows a young blind girl and her cane finding their way to a friend's house.
Getting down the street wasn't easy. As soon as Nicky left the house, Candy was swished and swooshed into stinker, rubbish bins and bags, banged and bumped into oddly placed signs, posts and trees. I think there's a real lack of knowledge at the minute around the barriers that people with visual impairments and disabled people generally do face when they're out and about, and I'm hoping that what the book will do is put accessibility as a topic across to children in a bit more of a fun, a bit more of a light-hearted and interactive way, so that they grow up with access and inclusion for disabled people, just part of who they are, part of how they operate.
The difficulties Ben has found using public transport have inspired another book for youngsters. In total, he's writing 5. He told me he wants children to influence adults with the power to make changes.
I hope that from the books that they start talking to parents about what they're learning at school, and we'll sort of have an army of children all preaching about access and inclusion for disabled people. So although it starts with children, we hope that it will spread and have much more impact than that. Now that the street is a better place, Candy was less battered, bruised, and with a better street, Nicky and Candy got to see Kim much more often.
A happy ending, a happy future, Ben hopes his writing helps bring about. Rob Smith, ITV News, Salford.
Oh, what a lovely, lovely idea. We can all do our bit to make the roads just a little bit safer, can't we?
Yeah.
Here's Joe with the weather.
Why do I need a shower? I've been out in the rain.
The faster you go, the sooner you'll be out. You'll save water too.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Thank you. A very good evening to you. Over the next few days, there'll be some typical autumnal weather to be had. Blustery showers, a bit of sunshine in the mix and quite gusty winds to contend with. Certainly as we go through the night tonight, showers will begin to ease down and tomorrow promises to be brighter for northwest England and the Isle of Man. From Friday, though, those blustery showers will set in and the weekend looks rather unsettled. It's all thanks to low pressure. We've got fronts packing in from the west over the next few days. It's very changeable and difficult to predict when and where these showers will occur, but one thing's for certain, it's going to remain unsettled through this weekend, certainly. Now back to the details for this evening. Bits and pieces of showery rain will continue through the next few hours. There's some low cloud and mistiness around as well, but gradually skies will begin to clear as we go through the night tonight, and this will allow temperatures to fall away rurally in parts of Cumbria, Lancashire and Cheshire to around 2 or 3 Celsius. Low enough perhaps for a touch of frost before tomorrow morning. And generally dry weather to wake up to for tomorrow. With the sun times, it will be up at 7:34, setting just before 6:20 tomorrow evening. Tomorrow then, not a bad start to the day. Any mist and fog will lift quite promptly and there'll be some nice sunshine around, a real difference to this morning, certainly. It should be a dry day for our part of the world. Tomorrow afternoon, perhaps a little more cloud building, some gusty winds around and temperatures tomorrow not doing too bad for the time of year, 14 or 15 degrees. After tomorrow, we're expecting those showers to feature through Friday, Saturday and Sunday with some sunshine in the mix, but we should lose the risk of overnight frost. Bye-bye.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Certainly still pouring down in Salford tonight. Bring on the weekend, that's what I say. It's looking good. OK, well, thanks for all of the views that are coming into us tonight on cancelling fireworks displays, including this one from Jack McLaren. He says, Manchester City Council are punishing us all again. We missed it the last 2 years because of COVID, and they're treating it like a lockdown again. No wonder people travel to Blackpool at the weekend for their events. They are making a big mistake.
Yeah, Frank, he raises a really interesting point. It'll be interesting to see if councils take this up in the future. He says, put them on and let people pay for premium viewing spots to subsidise them, leaving plenty of room for others to watch for free. I've seen this work really well in other parts of the country.
Yeah, and finally we have this one in from Paul. He says it should actually only be councils who have fireworks. Too many people these days think it's fun to antagonise people with them. I don't think Alfie the dog will like them very much,
No.
or any others.
Yeah. We shall see you tomorrow. Bye-bye for now.
Bye.